Here's 10 things Ineos will do now they have sporting control of Manchester United. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at exactly what Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos will bring to Manchester United with the recent news that they have 25% or own 25% of the club with sporting control. We're going to take a look at the 10-step plan we believe they have in place to bring Manchester United back to the promised land. So no more talking. Let's dive into it. Step 1. Ineos take control of the sporting department. Over these past couple of weeks, the finer details have been ironed out and finalised, and Sir Jim and Ineos, they are set to take control and act on it immediately. If you cast your minds back to when the Glazers first announced that they was looking for strategic alternatives, which effectively triggered a 10-month bidding war between Sheikh Jassim and Qatar and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. For a lot of the time, it seemed like Qatar were favourites, right? It seemed like a lot of the fans wanted Qatar as well. I'm not speaking for you guys or for myself, but it certainly seemed like that Qatar were heavy favourites. You know, when you spoke to the majority of journalists, that's kind of where they was leaning towards. Now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, in fairness to him, has pivoted numerous times in a business sense to get his foot in the door, and people weren't happy with that. They were saying he's working with Joel and Avram and he's working with the Glazers, and he's effectively become one of them by offering this deal. Now, as far as I understand, the initial offer is 25% stake for sporting control with a view to eventually own the club 100% and take it off the market. Whether that happens or not, I'm not entirely sure, because we know what the Glazers are like, and we know that, you know, they needed this cash injection, but then had they signed themselves up to eventually you just don't know, do you? You don't know what's going on. The finer details are left to people like the Glazers and Ineos. So when this goes through, who will the Ineos decide to bring through? That's the next question. Step 2. Hire a new CEO. We've just had news breaking today that Richard Arnold will be leaving by the end of the year, which, you know, obviously makes room for a new person to come in. And one of the names that is heavily linked with us for Richard Arnold's job, or former job as CEO, is Jean-Claude Blanc. Now, I've done a bit of digging on Blanc because I didn't know much about him myself. I don't know if you guys know much about him. So I had a look into his background, and he seems very promising. He's one of the most experienced sports marketing executives in Europe, having led organisations in different major sports over the last 20 years. He's managed the Olympic Winter Games, the Tour de France, the Paris-Dakar, which is motor racing, the French Open, tennis, the Davis Cup, and was also the chairman and CEO of Juventus. Now, interestingly, before becoming the chairman of the board of Juventus in October 2009, Blanc was brought in as a board member during the club's worst period in history, when it was relegated to the second division due to the scandal when they got points deducted, etc. I think it was called the Calciopoli scandal, something like, I can't pronounce it, but something like that. He then focused immediately on rebuilding the team and the technical staff. He also renegotiated all the major business contracts and improved the financial health of the club, which, to be honest, God, we could do with right now, because the debt, the mismanagement of contracts, etc. is fucking horrendous, isn't it? Then Juventus made an immediate comeback in the 2006-07 season to the main division, reaching an unexpected third place. And I think the season after, they finished second, and then they went on to win numerous league titles. So he's obviously done a good job whilst operating the club's finance at a break-even. He then headed to Paris, where he spent 12 seasons and saw the club win over 50 trophies during their journey to becoming one of the most successful premium sports and lifestyle brands in the world, under ownership of Qatar Sports Investment, QSI. In December 2022, Blanc left PSG to go and work for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and Ineos announced Blanc as their new Chief Executive Officer of Sport. And there's a quote from Ratcliffe that says, "I'm delighted to welcome Jean-Claude as CEO of Ineos Sport with his many years of experience across different sports. We have a high ambition for all our sports teams, with a particular ambition to raise our standards in football. And Jean-Claude will bring an entrepreneurial and innovative flair to all of our teams." And it seems like Man United might be his next challenge. And that news might be breaking even whilst I'm doing this now, so God knows. But it seems very imminent. Step 3, complete your full strategic review of the internal process. As well as appointing certain executives and directors, Sir Jim and his team will want to complete a full-scale strategic review of the internal process. What this typically involves is a comprehensive examination and analysis of various operations, management structures, and protocols within the club, and it aims to identify areas for improvement, enhance efficiency, and align the club's strategies with its overall goals. This can include assessments of player recruitment, coaching, methodologies, financial management, and other aspects critical to the club's success. Now, we know this club, the way it's been run for the past 10 years since David Gill left after Fergie, has been absolutely diabolical and just not acceptable at all for a club of Manchester United standards. So Ineos, rightfully so, we're going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, look at where it's gone wrong, try to address the issues, also at the same time whilst getting rid of the rot. Step 4, Sir Jim will lean on Ineos' massive data and sports science approach, which implies a strategic use of advanced analytics, technology, and scientific approaches to enhance the club's capabilities and outcomes. And Ineos, when it comes to sport, are pretty efficient. If you look across all the catalogue in sailing, cycling, etc., they're very professional and they're very detailed. And if you look at any of their sports teams, most of them are doing pretty well and are consistently at the top. I even had worries about Nice. I've spoken about this on a video before. There was a period when they first taken over, there was some teething issues. They was getting rid of technical directors and managers left, right, centre. There was a bit of, I don't know, just awkwardness going on at board level. And his plan when he'd taken over Ineos was to take him to the top to compete with PSG. And that wasn't happening at the time. I think the highest place they finished was 5th. But as we speak right now, I'm pretty sure they are top of the league above PSG. So, you know, things are starting to click over there. Is that convenient timing? Now, you know, Ratcliffe's taken over. Obviously, he's happy it's happening. So, I don't know. I did have worries, but look, if they're doing well at the moment, the top of the French league, they don't have the funds to match PSG, they must be doing something right, which bodes well for us. Step 5, appoint a new director of football empowered to make real decisions. Thank God, I think John Murtaugh's time is up now. The way it got packaged under Edward at the time after failing for years himself wasn't convincing in the slightest, and I'd say that theme kind of continued with John Murtaugh's ability to do the actual job. Before he got the role, he was a sports scientist at Everton under David Moyes. He became the Premier League's head of elite performance in 2012. He then moved to Old Trafford with Moyes in 2013 and spent 7 years at United before he became sporting director, and the rest is history, really. It hasn't been great at all. I mean, a couple of people were praising him, including myself, at the start of the window for getting him out over the line, etc. But then you look at some of the deals over the past couple of years, the Arnautovic, Rabiot, late Anthony signing, Casemiro panic, these kind of things. That is not an efficient sporting director or one who kind of plans ahead of time. He's just a bit chaotic, to be honest. Like it has been across, you know, it's not just him, across all board level at Manchester United. I think bringing someone in like a Paul Mitchell, who is strong on his philosophy and would really bring that expert level we need at United, with his impressive resume that you've seen at other clubs, I think he would be absolutely perfect for us right now. His work speaks for himself. He's been linked with us previously as well, when we had Rangnick here, and we've needed this role fill in for a long, long time now. And if this happens, we'll really start to see the change for the better. This is the transfer that we needed. And like I said, you look at the work at Tottenham, Southampton, even MK Dons bringing through Alan Smith and Dele Alli and all these kind of guys. But if you want to see a full video on Paul Mitchell and his whole background and how he's got to this point now and why we're going for him, then make sure you check out the video on our channel. Just type in Paul Mitchell, Real Red Stock, and it should pop up. Step 6, restructure the football hierarchy and decision-making process to actually fit a modern style. Now, this could involve adapting a more kind of collaborative, data-driven, or strategic decision-making methods that are in line with the current best practices in the football industry. All the top clubs currently do it. The aim will be to modernise the club's operational framework for better adaptability and success, and I think everyone has to be singing from the same hymn sheet when we're talking about this. It's all good saying Paul Mitchell above Ten Hag and Jean-Claude Blanc, the CEO, who everyone's answering to, but if they don't all align with the same views, there's not cohesion throughout, and that's what we're lacking at the moment. So that is something that's really, really important. You need cohesion from top to bottom. And like I said, that includes the manager as well, which brings me to the next step. Step 7, move Erik Ten Hag to head coach effectively as it should be, with a lot of direction from above. Ten Hag has almost been focusing on everything other than coaching for the past year or so. Call a spade. The issues that he's dealt with off the pitch, even on the pitch, recruiting players he trusts, he knows, as well as working on shaky ground due to the Glazers announcing this sale, and constant questions about, his job and Greenwood and Anthony and blah, 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 and Ronaldo and De Gea, and He's just, you find it hard to think he's been 100% focused on coaching with all the shit that's been going on. And with Erik ten Hag just purely focusing on that and putting all his efforts and energy into it, that should obviously only improve the results on the pitch and allow him to work at what he's best at. At Ajax, you look at the machine that he had above him, well-oiled machine with Edwin van der Sar and Mark Overmars. He didn't have to deal with a million things. He just focused purely what was on the pitch. And when a man's work is slightly affected by that and he's off by a certain percentage, you get what happens this season. And I think this would be the correct step that needs to happen going forward. Step 8, align vision with the head coach, the sporting director, and the CEO. Now, I love Erik ten Hag. I think he's done phenomenally well, like I mentioned before, with everything that's been going on. I obviously want him to stay, but I will be the first person to say, I want to win at all cost. And if I see progression off the pitch and things being done in the right way, and the coach's views don't align with what's going on up top and the performances still aren't improving on the pitch, then there's discussions that need to be had. I know there was rumours Ten Hag didn't want to work with Rangnick, and I'm not sure if that was an ego thing or if it was United's fault or if it's a combination of stuff. You have no idea. It was probably the board not allowing Rangnick in because of things that he was saying. But if you look at situations like Pep with Tiki, I can't remember his second name, but Arteta with Edu, they have similar views and values when it comes to football, and that is really important to connect for the sake of the club's future. Step 9, identify, recruit and sell based on profiles that fit the system. Now, this falls into a similar category with what I was speaking about before, but this is more specific. This involves, selecting players whose skills and playing styles align with the team's overall system and the club's vision for success. Let's take, Doku at City is the most recent example, which he used quite a lot. But Pep identifies an area in his squad where he wants to bring in a dynamic winger who can create chances on his own and cause multiple problems. They bring in Doku, he immediately hits the ground running, 21 years old, 2 goals and 5 assists in 6 starts for 50 million quid, almost half of what we paid for Anthony. That is the difference. Step 10, eventually own 100% of the club and take it off the market. With most business endeavours, this is the usual process for Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He will buy a stake in something and eventually he'll get 100% of it and take it off the market. But with the Glazers, I think there's going to be some bumps along the way. And if the last 18 years are anything to go by, it's not going to be as simple as 25, 50, 75, 100, I don't think. I'm still very sceptical about how the finer details of the bid will work. Are there clauses that guarantee he will fully take over? How will we compete with other teams when so much investment is needed? Will Joe Glazer still have a certain say, and how long will he have a say for? What happens with the debt? Will there be too many cooks to spoil the broth in terms of making decisions on sporting decisions? And one thing I will say, if you're trying to find a silver lining, at least it's some form of change. And you would like to think that when we start winning on the pitch, if we start winning on the pitch, other things will come naturally alongside that. And that will only happen if you get the best in class, not these jokers who have been running the asylum for way too long. So the conclusion then, how do we feel about Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos taking sporting control of Manchester United? What do you think the future looks like for us in the next 3 years? Do you think the Glazers will eventually go? What are you personally expecting from Ineos? And let me know your overall thoughts on this video in general. Any feedback's appreciated. Make sure you leave a like on the video. Yeah, let's see what happens with United, eh? It's a new era, if you will. Take care. See you in the next one.